You don't hate people. You don't want to be alone, but somehow you always end up on the outside, watching conversations instead of being in them, replaying things you could have said hours later. And the strangest part is, when someone does try to get close, you feel uncomfortable, like you don't quite belong there either. So what is this? Is it shyness or something deeper you haven't named yet? Problem. Deep dive. It doesn't show up all at once. It starts small. You hesitate before speaking. You overthink your tone. You filter your words just in case. Then slowly, you begin to shrink. Not physically, but socially. You laugh a little less. You share a little less. You reveal almost nothing real. And over time, something subtle happens. People stop trying. Not because they dislike you, but because they can't feel you. So you end up in this quiet loop. You feel disconnected. So you hold back, which makes others feel distance, which confirms your belief that you don't fit. And then your mind fills in the gaps. They already have better friends. I just be extra. I don't know how to be interesting. But beneath all of that, there's a deeper pattern forming. It's not just about social skills. It's about identity. You're not just struggling to make friends. You're struggling to feel safe being seen. And that's where psychology begins to explain everything. What if this isn't a social failure? What if it's protection? Because your brain doesn't care about making friends. It cares about avoiding emotional risk, especially the kind that feels unpredictable. Rejection, misunderstanding, being judged for something you didn't even mean. So instead of letting you move freely, your brain builds a quiet defense system. It teaches you to observe more than express, to analyze more than connect, to stay slightly distant just in case. And over time, this becomes automatic, not because you chose it, but because your brain learned that being careful is safer than being open. So no, you're not bad at making friends. You've just trained your mind to prioritize emotional safety over connection. And that changes everything. Psychological mechanism. At the core of this is something called social threat sensitivity. Your brain treats social interaction like a prediction game. It constantly asks, is this safe or risky? If your past experiences, even subtle ones, involved rejection, embarrassment, or feeling out of place, your brain starts predicting negative outcomes, not consciously, but automatically. So before you even speak, your brain runs simulations. What if I say something wrong? What if they don't respond well? What if I'm awkward? And here's the key. Your brain doesn't wait for reality. It reacts to the prediction. This activates your internal alarm system, similar to anxiety. And once that happens, your behavior shifts. You speak less. You avoid eye contact. You keep things surface level, which reduces your chances of real connection. Now imagine this as a social thermostat. Most people have a balanced setting. They feel some risk, but still engage. But yours is set higher. It detects danger faster and cools down your expression. So even when nothing is wrong, you act like something might be. And people respond to that subtle signal, not consciously, but emotionally. They feel distance. And connection requires warmth. So the loop continues. Practical framework. This isn't about becoming more outgoing. It's about retraining your brain's prediction system. Here's how. 1. Lower the stakes in your mind. What to do? Stop treating every interaction as a test of your likability. Why it works? Psychology. Your brain amplifies anxiety when outcomes feel high stakes. Lower perceived importance. reduces threat response. Example, instead of thinking, I need to make a good impression, shift to, this is just one small moment. You're not building a friendship in one conversation. You're just sampling interaction. 2. Share. 10% more than feels comfortable. What to do reveals slightly more than your default level. Not everything, just a bit more. Why it works? Psychology. Example, instead of just saying, yeah, I like movies, say, yeah, I like movies, especially ones that make you think after. You're adding a piece of yourself without overwhelming your system. 3. Focus on curiosity, not performance. What to do? Shift your attention from, how am I coming across, to, who is this person? Why it works. Psychology. Self-focus increases anxiety. External focus reduces cognitive load and threat perception. Example, instead of monitoring your tone, ask a follow-up question. Wait, how did you get into that? Now your brain is exploring, not defending. 4. Normalize micro-rejection. What to do? Expect small moments of disconnection and stop over-interpreting them. Why it works. Psychology. Your brain tends to catastrophize social signals. Reframing reduces emotional overreaction. Example, if someone gives a short reply, don't assume they're uninterested. They might just be distracted or tired. Not every gap means rejection. 5. Build familiarity before depth. What to do? Interact consistently in low-pressure ways before trying to click. Why it works. Psychology. The mere exposure effect. Your brain feels safer with familiarity. Repeated exposure lowers social threat. Example, say small things regularly. Hey, good morning. How's your day going? Friendship often grows from repeated small interactions, not one perfect conversation. Think of your mind like a social prediction machine. Right now, it predicts risk too quickly, so it pulls you back. But every small interaction, every slightly open moment, feeds it new data. Data that says, this is safe. This didn't go wrong. I can stay here a little longer. And slowly, your internal thermostat adjusts. Not overnight, but gradually. From guarded to neutral to open. And that's how connection forms, not through force, but through familiarity with being seen. 7. Quiet. Empowering close. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need a louder personality, or better jokes, or perfect timing. You just need to feel a little safer being who you already are. Because the truth is, people don't connect to perfection. They connect to presence. And the more you allow yourself to stay, even when it feels slightly uncomfortable, the more your world begins to change. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to realize you were never bad at making friends. You were just protecting yourself a little too well. And now, you can slowly choose something different.